All right, and there you have it. We have our winners of the 2025 Champions Trophy. It is India. It is an unbeaten record throughout the tournament, even though they came up with the 15th loss of the toss in a row, didn't win a single toss, but they won every single match, and they won the most important match, the finals against New Zealand. What a game. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, incredible. And I think you spoke the most important factor, What a game, what a tournament. Despite losing all the tosses in the tournament, India remained undefeated and two ICC trophies in a span of I think 14 months, 13 months.
Yeah, barely a
Incredible
year.
run.
Barely a year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
barely a year. Incredible run by Team India. And I know there's a lot of discourse on the pitches and favoritism, but India was better each match, and they were better in the final. And you have to give it to them. They played incredible cricket and well deserved Team India.
And I think India definitely deserved this win as well. They were the only team that played like a team. A lot of teams had really good players that stood up and you could say carried the team to a certain point. But with India, they had different players stand up in each match, whether it was batting, bowling, fielding, and we saw that evident in today's game as well.
Yeah, no, 100%. And even post match conference, you heard some of the live interviews after the match. And that's exactly what Kohli and Shubman Gill were saying, where during each match, a different person put their hand up and sort of stepped up on the occasion. And you can look at the bowlers, you can look at even Mohammad Shami in one of the matches, we haven't even talked about the batting yet. People have stepped up in different times, that's what Team India is. And I think that's what really separates championship teams versus, teams that win the odd ODI. Because in championship teams, you need match winners, and that's winners plural, right? You need multiple of them because, you can get that ball that has your name on it, but the next guy up with the ball or with the bat has to really put their hands up and be like, okay, if it's not your day, it's my day. And India had a plethora of those players this tournament.
Absolutely, and I think it gets proven even when you look at the top run scorers and the top wicket takers. You have a New Zealander at the top of the charts for the wickets in Matt Henry, and then you have Rachin Ravindra, another New Zealander, at the top of the run scorers. But neither of them are from the team that won the tournament. And when you look at who's in the top for India, India have two in the top three for bowlers. They have Varun and Mohammad Shami tied at 9 wickets each. And then in the batting, you have Shreyas Iyer, who you could argue was the most consistent, but he didn't necessarily have the biggest scores in the games that he played. So that proves it right there how India were not dependent or reliant on a single player. It was different players stepping up on different occasions, and we'll talk more about that as we unpack the finals here.
Yeah, no, exactly that. Incredible. And, you've already mentioned, I think, a great starting point, another lost toss. What are the lucks with Rohit Sharma? I don't know how that works. I think I saw on Twitter, it's like such a small decimal of a possibility of losing 15 tosses in a row. But hey, they lost the toss and New Zealand wanted to bat first.
India can lose every single toss the rest of eternity. But if they're able to come back with W's and trophies, I'll take that any day of the week. So I'm okay with it as long as we come on the right side of winning.
Yeah, I know. I completely agree. So sometimes even the decisions to bat and bowl sometimes get played in your head a lot, and
Yeah.
sometimes it's maybe better if you just get told what to do, right, and just focus on your skills and the game. And I think that's what Coach Rojo mentioned as well. Where, if they're good enough, they'll win either way, right? So I think that's the mentality that India really has.
Okay, so India lose the toss and New Zealand decide to bat first. What were your thoughts on New Zealand deciding to bat first in the final, force India to chase, even though India are known to chase targets in the recent past?
Yeah, that was an interesting call from them. I think they hoped that the pitch would turn a little bit more under the lights, which I think it did a little bit. And I think everyone talks about in the final, having that quote unquote scoreboard pressure. It's different to chase in a group match versus chasing in the final. I think, and I
Hmm.
think and hey, maybe trying to remind India what happened in 2017 when they lost against Pakistan, right? Couldn't chase that score, right? So maybe wanted to release some old demons, but I think it was more for like the scoreboard pressure and maybe potentially, expecting the deck to turn a little bit more for the spinners and under lights. What were your thoughts?
Y- Yeah, I definitely think it was the latter for sure. It felt like just the way the pitchers have been playing in the last few matches in Dubai, where in the second innings it was tougher to bat. The spinners were able to get the ball to grip a lot more, and I feel that was why New Zealand batted first. And I thought it was a good decision. It was a really good decision that
Hmm.
they batted first, and it looked like a good decision when they started because the first wicket partnership put up a 57-run partnership in 7.5 overs, scoring at more than six and over. And when you start like that, you're pretty much ahead of the game at that point. Um, and I feel like New Zealand would have felt pretty confident with their decision when they started, but then they had a little bit of a hiccup, let's just say, when they lost three wickets for around 18 runs, and it was their three in-form batsmen, Will Young, Rachin Ravindra, and Williamson, and it was amazing bowling. Kuldeep, especially when he got Rachin out, it was his first ball, and he decided to bowl a googly on the first ball, and he got him out. That was amazing to see that.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And it just, as you mentioned, getting smacked around in the first few overs, and then India, bringing the spinners on, and as they've done throughout the tournament, the spinners really strung a web around the New Zealand batsmen. And I think Varun was first. Just couldn't read the pitch of the delivery, and then Kuldeep in his spell, an incredible spell. I think Kuldeep was definitely a little quiet earlier in the matches, but if you're a match winner, and as we mentioned earlier in this pod, you come up, and I think Kuldeep really allowed. I think he had uh the wicket. I think the next wicket in his next over as well. So two wickets and two overs from him. I think that's to your point, getting two prime batsmen out. And even yeah, to your point, the googly itself, that's and getting bowled like that. That's a momentum shifting delivery, right? That really that really like gets you to celebrate, and everyone's like, oh, we gotta really pick the delivery. But no, you're as you mentioned, the spinners came in, and Kuldeep really able to shift the momentum with his spell.
Yeah, definitely. When the spinners came in, it felt like the momentum India were able to rest him back. A few more overs, New Zealand were run to score. Um, but as soon as Varun came in, as soon as Kuldeep came in, you could see right away that it was hard for the batters to maneuver the ball, and they were bowling their lengths and lines really well. Uh, so when the spinners came on, it looked like India had a squeeze on the game. And then you had New Zealand sort of playing. It felt like they were trying to build like a base from that point when they realized that okay, they probably can't afford to lose many wickets, so they turned the gears down a notch. And it was a very interesting innings from Daryl Mitchell. Like he made a 60, but he faced 101 balls doing so. And I felt like he was just stifled to score. And I think it was on commentary. I think I heard Harsha say that Daryl Mitchell likes to sweep the ball a lot, whether it's reverse or the conventional sweep. And it felt like India took that away from him. And that didn't allow him to maneuver and rotate the strike as he usually does. And it slowed down his scoring rate.
Yeah, no, and I think you're on point with that analysis. And I think, if you look at his numbers as well, I think he only had three fours, no
Three
sixes, and
boundaries,
that's a
yeah.
yeah, that's very unlike him. And as your point, I think you mentioned, I think, the way that India was bowling, and definitely, their field placement as well, they definitely limited the scoring options. And to your point, I think they reached a point where they just wanted to get that base and not have a full on collapse. And Daryl Mitchell really, he really honed in on his test skills. And really, if we look at the numbers, he really a lot of singles, a lot of dot deliveries, and very patient from him. Where, as we mentioned in our earlier podcast, sometimes that is required a little bit in the ODI format, where you do have to consolidate a little bit. It's not regular T20 programming where someone's out, okay, keep hitting the ball.
Yeah, I don't have the stats for this, but just by looking at the number of balls that Daryl Mitchell, Tom Latham, and even Glenn Phillips faced, you could see that there's a lot of dot balls in there. And I think that's where I wouldn't say the game was lost, but I think that's where New Zealand gave up 20 to 30 runs. Because they probably should have scored 280 or 275 total to put more pressure on India. Kudos to them for still reaching 250 because at one point it looked like they were going to get to 230 or 240. If it wasn't for Michael Bracewell, who came at the end there with that 53, his innings was pulled some momentum back towards New Zealand because it did look like if it wasn't for that innings, they would have probably ended up with like a 230 score.
Yeah, no, exactly that. And his innings were great. And I think, as we mentioned earlier, I think part of that reason was because when he was batting, Shami came back in, and so some expensive over from him and Pandya. But if we compare to the middle overs with the spinners, Akshar, Jadeja, all really bowling within, I think, below the 4 runs per over rate. So incredible economy from the spinners, and obviously, as we talked about the decks here in Dubai, when the fast bowlers come in, when the pacers come in, the batters are just able to get a little bit more runs, and Bracewell really took advantage of that. And I think that really set them up for a little bit more of a competitive total than they were expecting before Bracewell came in.
Yeah, exactly. And so New Zealand ended up with 251. What was your thoughts at this stage? How did you feel about the score? Did you feel New Zealand had enough, or did you feel they were under par?
I thought they were at par. I thought it was a competitive total, and I think
Nice.
that New Zealand would have been happy if they were told in the worst, like at the toss, that will you be okay with getting 250 and you're chasing 251. I think they would have taken that. I think the match was very poised nicely. I think, yeah, India just needed some of the batters to step up, and I think that's what happened. What were your thoughts though? Because I know you were able to catch half of the match as well. At the midpoint mark, did you think that New Zealand would have been happy with their effort?
Feel like they would have probably liked 20 to 25 runs more. And just looking at where they were at when Glenn Phillips fell, so that was around the 38 over mark. They had 165 on the board. So you're looking at 12 overs left in the innings. They would have probably fancied scoring at least 80, not 80, because they scored more than that. I would say at least 100 runs in the last 12 overs. Score, what is that, like just over 8, 9 runs and over?
Yeah, yeah,
Which they weren't able to do. And that would have got them to like a 265, 270 target, which I think would have been a stronger target. Given the fact that it's a final, you add maybe another 20, 30 runs to any target in a final. So yeah,
for
you could
sure.
argue that they made 250, so it looks like a 270 target. But I felt like it was slightly under par, given India's batting depth. And you saw that in every game. I don't think there was a game where was there a game where India chased 300?
No, because in Dubai, I think no one scored over 300.
No one scored over 300. So that's what I felt. I felt like if the target was closer to that 300, then it would have put a lot of pressure on India's batting lineup.
Yeah, no, no, I completely agree. And like, even the mental barrier of that 300 is sometimes really big in a tournament. And I think, yeah, what really helped India was a lot of these batsmen are classy technical batsmen. So they'll watch the ball. And, in Dubai, the ball was turning. But as we know, Indian batsmen, subcontinent batsmen, have been playing spin for years, right? So I think, the key for the Dubai wicket was not getting out. Maybe not getting the highest scores, but not getting out. And I think Indian batsmen really suited that, where they were able to play the balls on merit and able to, build partnerships and not get out, and, be able to play quote unquote safer cricket to get over the line when needed. When needed, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. So India get into their innings now, chasing 252 to win the Champions Trophy. Out comes Rohit Sharma and Shubman Gill. Great start, 105 on the board in 18 overs. At this point, you're thinking India's gonna walk home like it's a cakewalk. But then once again, New Zealand fought back. But before we talk about that little fight back, how was that start by Rohit Sharma and Shubman?
Oh, incredible start by Rohit. And, in my slog I did mention big score from Rohit, and I did say century, but, we did get a big score from him. He finally
I'll
came
take a
through, and
76.
I'll take a 7, or I'll take and what a great 76. Oh my gosh, the
Yeah,
shots he was taking. 6 over, straight over
it was
the
vintage
over the
Rohit.
head.
Some of
Yeah, it
those
was
shots.
vintage Rohit. 100%. And that really, I think, definitely pushed India with the momentum they needed. A little disappointed with Shuman's innings. We're all expecting him to be a big time player, a big game player. Obviously, don't get me wrong, that 100 partnership stand would not have happened without him, and he needed that sort of those runs under his belt. But uh, you know, I think he's trying to do that as well. But again, in big games like this, you have to really respect the competition and really take your chances when you could. Because when Shuman tried taking a chance, Phillips snatched it with one hand again. What a
I
catch!
was I was just gonna say, I felt like Gill was getting into his groove,
Yeah,
because and then he was stopped by Superman himself. Like,
yeah.
I can't believe Glenn Phillips. The man has three speckies in one tournament that most players will have over their lifetime, and he has it in one tournament. It is insane, and they're all different catches too. Two catches at point, one to the left, one to the right, and this one is above his head. Like, how? How do you do that every single time? It's insane. And it wasn't like it was a miss hit. It was a full
No,
blooded shot, like middle
yeah,
of the bat.
yeah,
And he
yeah,
just
yeah.
stuck the hand out and it stuck. Incredible.
No, again, couple catches, but I think he has to stick with the one hand thing now because it's been working for him. You're like, it really has. Like, if it's working for you, don't fix it, right? Incredible athleticism, and to your point, all three catches, fully in the air, and really just stuck in his palm each time. I do feel that if Shubman got that over him, I think Shubman would have released the shackles and maybe got on for at least 15, 20 more quick runs. Just because I think at that time, 100 run stand, I think both batsmen are just able to unshackle a little bit more. So I just think that it was unfortunate for Shuman. I think he was really looking forward to really release those shackles from him. You know, Great wicket at a key time, and in comes the chase master, right?
Yeah, yeah, and it definitely was a key time for New Zealand to get that wicket, because they needed something to get back into the game, and they got that something from Glenn Phillips, more than a something, but then out comes the king himself. But he didn't last too long. Got out second ball, missed. It was a great ball. It was a great ball. I don't think he should have gone for the flick on the second ball, but he did. He missed it, and he was outplumbed. And he went for the review, which I guess if you're King Kohli, you take the review regardless. But that gave New Zealand a more than a sniff, because then within a few overs they got Rohit out as well, stumped, and now you're looking at India three down, another wicket or two, and you're looking at a very, very tight finish.
100%. We'll be super tight. But what I really liked, and I know we've praised him throughout this podcast, this tournament, Shreyas Iyer, and I think it was a big opportunity for him, not because of the moment, but because he had to build something without Virat Kohli. I think he has worked tremendously well with Virat Kohli, both in the CWC 2023 tournament and in this tournament as well. Great partnerships with him, and they've had it seemed like they were both in one, understanding each other. But building it with Rohit Sharma initially, then Akshar Patel, and then I believe with KR Rahul as well. He needed to adjust and really really have that, I would say, that mental shift in becoming a match winner. And nothing to really discredit his previous performances. And I know he's made a couple of 50s this tournament, but I think this 46, I believe, was instrumental for India's win this tournament.
Yeah, yeah, he ended up at 48 for 62, and it was a game-changing knock for sure. Rohit provided the impetus at the start that allowed the middle order to take more of their time, and I think that's what we saw from Shreyas and Akshar, where they were just able to consolidate. And again, you'll notice in the strike rates was slightly higher than Daryl Mitchell and Tom Latham, in fact, much higher, which shows you that there was less dot balls, more maneuvering of the strike, because they didn't have a lot of boundaries. Shreyas only hit two fours, two sixes. Akshar just the one each, but they kept the scoreboard ticking along. And you could argue that New Zealand's spinners are probably not as, um, let's just say, world class as the Indian spinners, but still, they were able to. You still had to maneuver them, and they did. and they were able to get India closer and closer to that target. And New Zealand kept fighting. They kept fighting, and kudos to them. They're one of those teams that just don't go away. They'll never just go away. And you saw that they tried their best. They got Shreyas out. They got Akshar out, and you felt like, okay, this game is going right down to the last couple overs. But just like it did in the previous matches, someone else came in and they took the responsibility. And now you saw KL Rahul and Hardik Pandya take India right to the finish.
Yeah, yeah. And again, we've seen their partnership throughout this tournament. They also seem like they have a great understanding of each playing style and the roles that they sort of take. And yeah, at that really, I would say, delicate juncture when to your point, you one more wicket, two more wickets, and India's now this is now India's match to lose. And there's actually side point on this. There was those moments as well. Let's not dismiss the fact that New Zealand didn't catch some catches, right? And they had their
Oh
opportunities
yeah,
in the middle over as well. But as we're talking about right now, you know, you give a great team one or two sniffs and they'll take it, especially with the players that India have. And kudos to KL Rahul with his cool, calm mind. I know he had some choice words of how he felt during the final moments of the chase, but he was very calm, very cool. At least that's what it seemed like. And then Hardik Pandya, key boundaries at key moments, to really shift the momentum. And at that moment, he needed that 18 off 18. India really did. That those boundaries at those right times is what really, I guess, shifted the momentum to a score that was way more, I would say, digestible for India to chase. Sometimes it gets a little tricky when it's 32 runs off of 30 balls, but when it's more or less
as we
like,
saw with South Africa in the
as we saw
finals in
with South
T20.
Africa, exactly. But when it gets down to 16 off 20, then it gets a lot more easier.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And both of them, Kale and Hardik, they seem to play well together. And we saw the determination in especially Hardik Pandya's eyes. Like he wanted to finish that game. He wanted to take it right to the end. But to your point on the drop catches, uh, surprisingly, because
Yes,
New Zealand were able to take screamers via Glenn Phillips, but for some reason they dropped sitters. And I think it was, I forget who it was, but it might have been Shreyas Iyer that was dropped off of.
by
It
Kyle
was, right?
Jamieson. By Kyle
Yeah, Kyle
Jamieson.
Jameson at a key moment. Like he was just starting to string that partnership together with Akshar, and
Yes,
who knows? Like if
yes,
that catch is taken, you have Hardik Pandya. No, not Hardik. You have KL Rahul coming earlier into
yep.
bat, and as you saw at the end, even though he looked calm and collected, he was nervous. So you never know. Maybe that could have made him even more nervous coming earlier than he would have anticipated. But catch wasn't taken, and the rest was history.
Yeah, no, no, exactly that. And just a quick point from my end. There was some rumors on Twitter about Jadeja's retirement, and this was not coming out of of a mouthpiece or anything. It actually came from a moment shared by Kohli and Jadeja after Jadeja's final ball in his bowling spell, where Kohli ran up to him and hugged him. So people were a little ominous about that. They're like, "Oh, like Kohli hugging Jadeja after his bowling spell. Does this mean his potential final ODI?" So I know those rumors were swirling, and I believe Jadeja on his Instagram story said like, "Don't believe in rumors." But I thought it was nice and fitting for Jadeja to get those final runs. I'm sure KL Rahul, and I hope KL Rahul has more opportunities to do that. But I just wanted Jadeja to sort of do something from his end because I know he had a very light T20 tournament as well. He won that as well for Team India. He's kind of light on that front, but I just you saw the excitement from him as well. Winning the Champions Trophy again because we know he's part of that MS Dhoni squad all those years back. So I just thought it was poetic and nice for Jadeja to get the final shot there. What were your thoughts on that?
I didn't know that. I didn't know about that little moment from Kohli and Jadeja. So that's cool to know. Yeah, Jadeja hitting the winning runs. It was really nice to see. He's got that um, trademark celebration, if you will, when he scores the winning runs. We didn't see the scores come out, but he did that when he's won games for Chennai as well. So it was good to see that him doing it in the blue shirt. Yeah, if he does retire, it'll be definitely be a loss. But with the way Akshar is playing, I don't think we'll feel it as much in the one day game. But it'll definitely make it tougher for India going forward because It'll shorten that batting lineup again.
Yeah. And you heard Rohit Sharma specifically mention in the press conference. He mentioned, when you have a team in ODI with Jadeja coming in at 8, that really has a lot to say about their batting lineup. And because Jadeja is, he has Test centuries, very experienced batsman, knows what to do, and you really can't discount that in my eyes. But to your point, India do have the skills and the players to fill in those boots. But again, we're not saying anything on this pod, but Jadeja has been a really, really true servant for Team India cricket in all formats.
And speaking of retirement and rumors, I don't know if you saw the press conference by Rohit Sharma and what he said right at the end. I wonder if it was stimulated by this, where he was like, "Oh, by the way, don't create any rumors. I'm not retiring."
Yeah. No, exactly. Because we heard those rumors as well. Yeah, you heard that from. We hear those rumors about Kohli as well. At least from the looks of it now, they're potentially eyeing the 2027 ODI World Cup. Still, obviously, some time away. Uh, I think goalie's
Rohit's going to
36,
be
Rohit
39 by
and Rohit's 38,
2027.
39. Yeah.
He's
So,
37 right now.
okay, yeah. But hey, he pulled up in the big match. He got man of the match. That 76 is what India needed to beat New Zealand. And let's not discount his captaincy throughout the tournament. Undefeated this tournament, undefeated in the T20 tournament, and they had only lost one game in the 2023 Cricket World Cup in India, and that was the final. So, as much as you want to talk about his fitness and his age, to your point, whatever happens on the scenes happens, but are you getting the W? He's getting the
Yeah,
W. So what more do you
he
want?
is. Yeah, and the in the last 24 tournament games, India has won 23 out of them, and we know about the one that they lost. But that's a phenomenal stat. 23 out of 24 tournament games. That you're talking pressure, you're
Yeah.
talking a lot of expectations, and they were able to do. I know, people keep talking about that game that they lost, but they won the other two that they reached the finals. So I'll take that. It's 2-1. It's better than being the other way. So
Yeah, no, exactly. And you build teams, you build dynasties, not for bilateral wins, but for ICC tournaments. You say what you want about the Champions Trophy. It is an ICC tournament. 2017, obviously, India, definitely wanted to win after that loss in 2017. And then, as you mentioned earlier, the T20 tournament. Yeah, wanted ICC tournaments, and they've gotten two of them under the leadership of Rohit Sharma, and he reached the final of the other one. So I believe
yeah,
captaincy under three tournaments, as your point, winning two of them. I think any captain would take that.
yeah, that's an amazing feat for sure. And that was the game. That was the game. So India came out with the W. They won the Champions Trophy for the third time, if you count the one that they shared with Sri Lanka. I think that was back in 2003, 2002.
Yep, 2003.
And then the last one being in 2013 with Mr. Captain Cool MSD. So India Champions Trophy winners. Just a spare of thought for New Zealand. Anything to share on them?
Yeah,
I thought they were worthy finalists. I thought they put up a great game. They were definitely a little light on the score. And with the bowling, a little bit of inexperience there. I think their spinners did the best they could. In the fast bowling department, you could see that they missed Matt Henry, who was by
yeah,
far one of the top bowlers in the tournament.
yeah, exactly that. And it's always just a what if. What if Matt Henry had the new ball for New Zealand? Would Rohit Sharma have uh, that many runs? Uh, you
Hmm.
know, it is 100% an unfortunate loss of Matt Henry, and you do want to see the best players play against the best players in the world, right? Let's totally, we look for those rivalries, we look for those competitions. But yeah, they definitely missed them. And as much as, again, sorry, also to mention quickly, New Zealand had a great tournament. Rachin Ravinda really came into spring. Some great knocks by
Will
him.
Young,
Will Young, a lot of
Tom
runs
Latham.
across the belt. Satner with great bowling as well, great
Yeah,
captaincy, right? You cannot discount them for what they were doing. But I'll say this, I think there was opportunities in the final for them to really grasp it and win it. Those three drop catches, especially as you mentioned the Jameson one, I feel like the cricket gods gave them the opportunity to do it. But sometimes you just can't grasp onto it. No pun intended, right? And it was unfortunate, but New Zealand just seems like one of those teams that are always in the final somehow in like one of those tournaments. So I definitely expect them to be in another final very soon.
Yeah, they somehow are able to pull up their weight in every single tournament. I don't know how they do it, but somehow they do it. I don't know if it's the planning, I don't know if it's the underdog mentality, I don't know if it's teams that take them lightly, but how can you take them lightly where every single tournament they somehow end up in the final four for most of them? So pretty impressive performance. Just something I thought about with the feeling, and I heard this in commentary. I wonder if the Dubai stadium lights had anything to do with the fielding performances of by teams, because not only did we see New Zealand drop catches, but we also saw Australia drop catches in the semifinal. And these are two teams that are not known to drop as many catches as they did. And there was someone on comms who did say when Jamieson dropped the catch that it could have been the lighting, because the way the Dubai stadium is designed, it has those circular lights that go across the stadium. So if the ball goes at a certain height, you could get blinded by those lights. And I wonder if that had an impact.
Yeah, no, I think it definitely did. I think what they refer to that as the ring of light or the ring of fire around the Dubai Stadium. And we saw this all the way back, if you recall, this match between Australia and Pakistan in one of the T20 World Cups, where Hudson Lee dropped Matthew Wade. In Matthew Wade's, I think it was like the 18th or 19th over. It was a match.
Oh,
It was a match winning catch attempt. So similar, like not similar, but in the sense that it was a dibby doubler, is up in the air, he's on the boundary. Should have been regulation. But
yeah,
conversations came out of that was that the light affected him, and people talk about
interesting.
the white ball with the white light, and just the way that it
Oh
is.
yeah,
It's just it just sometimes you lose that in a second, and as we know, high pressure game. You can't hear anything. A quick little moment of misjudgment can really make a difference.
yeah. So I wonder if that had an impact, and it sounds like it probably did. Okay, cool. So that wraps up the finals there. What we wanted to get into next was our team of the tournament. So we always like having fun with these, so we thought we'd do it. We'll do it for this tournament as well. So do you want to go first? How do you want to do it? Do you want to go like by order and we shout out our openers and then the next positions
Yeah, let's
and
do that.
so
Let's
on?
like maybe let's talk
Okay.
about our openers and then number three, number four, number five, and then we'll
Okay.
talk about our
Yeah,
bowling
perfect.
combination at the end.
All right. So I'll let you go first. Who do you got for openers?
Yeah, so I'll say my openers. I'll give a little spiel of why I think they're the best openers on my team. I'm going with Rachin Ravindra and Rohit Sharma. I think Rachin Ravindra
Okay.
is pretty self-explanatory. He had a great tournament. I think he had a few hundreds under his belt as well. Incredible tournament from him. I think he's an automatic. I know Rohit Sharma would be, I wouldn't say controversial, but maybe a sticking point for some people. And I have my thoughts on this. I think he's had impactful innings throughout the tournament. Like, and those impacts are sometimes not there in terms of number of runs. But as Gautam Gambhir mentioned, Rohit Sharma really does make an impact in the game. And he pulled up to the final. And, that 76 was an incredible innings. But on top of all that, his captaincy, undefeated in the tournament. And I feel if you have to have a captain for this team, it would have to be Rohit Sharma. And I think, sure you can talk about shortage of runs in terms of numbers, but I think the impact he brings to the team and his captaincy overcompensate for that. So my openers are Rachin Ravindra and Rohit Sharma.
Nice, nice. Okay. So I can't argue with that. Pretty good choices. Rohit Sharma, I don't know, because he only really showed up in the finals, but you
Mm-hmm.
can give a lot of weight to the finals, so I can see the justification there. Plus he was captain, so I can see that. Rashid Ravindra, I think we're both set on that one. That's a no-brainer. I think he had 200s in the tournament. He
Yeah.
looked like $1 million throughout the tournament. He seemed like he was the key wicket in the finals as well. So no arguments there. My opener that I went with, so I was debating. I actually had a debate, and it wasn't
Okay.
Rohit Sharma. It was Shubman Gill and Ibrahim Zadran.
Okay. Zadran, I
Yeah,
know he had a great tournament. Don't get me wrong.
yeah.
Shubman Gill, what was your thoughts behind
So
that?
the reason why is because he did score 100 in that game against Bangladesh. You can argue and say that it's Bangladesh, but he also he also had he also had a good score against Pakistan, and he had a decent score in the finals as well that helped India get a good start and lay a good foundation. So I'm viewing it from that angle. The second opener was hard for me to pick. I couldn't. There wasn't really a standout. And then Ibrahim Zadran was the other one, but Afghanistan didn't make it out of the group stages, and he only had that one great innings, which was against England, the
Okay.
177 that he made,
Yeah.
which I think is one of the best innings, like top tier innings in one day cricket period. Like it's up there with anyone who scored any of those big scores, right?
Yeah.
So that has a lot of weight to it. So I did think about him as my other opener, but I ended up being biased and going with Shubman Gill.
Okay. Okay. So it's
Yeah.
actually quite interesting. I went with one Indian opener. You went with the other Indian opener. So, and hey, somebody argued that Rochin Ravinder is an Indian opener too. I'm just kidding.
All right, so I feel
Okay.
like number three, I feel like we both have this. Is it the king? It has to be the king
Has to
at
be.
number three.
Was
Yeah,
there
it
any
has to be.
doubt? Was there any
Yeah.
doubt?
That game against Pakistan, that innings, that should have been 100. Then he had his 100 against who did he score his 100 against? It's slipping my mind.
Uh
Was it Bangladesh again?
no, it wasn't Bangladesh. Was it? It was in New Zealand? No.
I'll have to
How do
bring it
we
up.
forget this? How do we forget
Yeah.
this? Uh
But anyways, he
we should.
scored 100, and he had that all important knock. Oh no, it was 100 against Pakistan, and it was a 84
Yeah.
against Australia. It was 84 against
Yes.
Australia, 100
Yes.
against Pakistan.
Yeah.
Two
Yeah. Yeah.
big games, two big innings. Like you have to have him in there. That 84 against Australia should have been 100. It was the
Yes, I
Pakistan
recall that
100
now.
that
Yeah. Yeah.
was the 100. Yeah,
Oh, beautiful chase. Beautiful chase.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. No, I
Definitely,
agree. So
both games held India's innings together and really calculated, played the way he does in chases, and he really stepped up.
no, I agree. So I think we're both in line for that one. So I guess okay, for number four, how about I do this? How about I combine four and five? I'm gonna do that because I think that just might add a little strength to my argument. I want to go with Shreyas Iyer and KL Rahul. I think both players had a
Same.
great tournament, and I'm
Yeah.
putting KL Rahul obviously as my wicketkeeper in my 11. But I think Shreyas Iyer, as we mentioned, is the highest Indian run scorer, despite I don't believe winning man of the match in any of the games. And I think his impact was is so well needed for India to finish all those games on a high note. So Shreyas Iyer and then KL Rahul as well. I'm putting KL Rahul over there because of what he brings. I think India obviously had Akshar Patel coming in a little bit earlier than him, but KL Rahul I think just fits into the squad, and I think he was a great wicketkeeper. And I think one of the things that I don't think we mentioned specifically throughout any of the podcasts was behind the stumps. He was pretty on point for DRS. I think when he thought it wasn't worthy of an appeal, he was okay. He was willing to let Rohit Sharma know, and I think he brought in the runs when needed and when called upon. So I'm going with Shreyas Iyer and KL Rahul.
Okay, okay. Wow, so four Indians in your top five. Interesting. You might as well name the Indian team. So I went with Shreyas at four, but I went with a non-Indian at five, and this might surprise you. I went with Rusty van der Dusen. We can't forget that South Africa reached the semifinals. We cannot forget that. So
Well, that's yeah,
I went with Rusty van der Dusen. He had 350s in the tournament. This is a hard team in the tournament to pick because you only have for most players three matches to pick from,
that's
right?
true. That's very
Other
true.
than the semifinalists. So I thought we can't forget that South Africa reached the final four and they had to have some representation for me, and I went with Rusty van der Dusen at number four. Now that I think about it, Ryan Rickelton also had a pretty decent tournament, who's South
Hmm.
Africa's new opener, and he seems to be like an amazing player for them. But anyways, I went with Van der Dusen at number five, so that's my four and five for me. I think we both locked on Shreyas Iyer though.
Okay, no, that's good, and I have no quarrel with Van Duzen. I think, as you mentioned, great tournament from him. And your point, yeah, I actually, to your point on having that South African representation, they had a great tournament. So no, I see that perspective as well. So then, how about you tell me about your next player, your number six?
Okay, so my number six is actually KL Rahul in the position that he
Okay,
was in.
got you, got you,
So,
got you, got you.
so I have KL at six, and I have him as wicketkeeper.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough. So at least we have Gale Rahul in our 11. I
Yeah.
had Glenn Phillips, and I don't know if you want to alternate with
Okay.
Glenn Phillips and Gale Rahul, but I think Glenn Phillips had a good, a decent tournament with the runs. And how can you not talk about the fielding? some
Yeah,
big games,
100%.
and then fielding's a big part of the game. We can't always forget that. So I think
And he
with the
knows
runs,
spin.
yeah, and exactly. So if they were playing in Dubai, maybe he would have got more wickets, right? So I'm pulling with Glenn Phillips as my six.
Okay, so I actually have Glenn Phillips as my 7.
Oh,
I
okay,
have I have
okay,
so as my all rounder. I so this was tough because
got you,
when it
got
comes
you,
to
got
all
you.
round, yeah, when it comes to all rounders, I was debating between Glenn Phillips, Hardik Pandya, Azmatullah Omarzai, and Marco Jansen too. Marco Jansen had a great tournament as well, right? So it was extremely hard for me to go, but um because New Zealand reached the finals and Phillips' fielding was just outstanding, coupled with the fact that he bowls spin. I had him at had number 7 as my all round.
Okay, no, that's good. I have him my 11, so I see what you mean there. I have to go with my guy, my boy Bondu. I have to go with him. Again, a key theme, I guess, for my rationale for a lot of these players is impact.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
think Pandya just brings that impact, brings that stability. What he had to do at times, he did for Team India. Maybe he was a little light with the ball, don't get me wrong, but you have to, also take into the fact that, these are very spinner friendly wickets. And I think you got to be a really good pacer to really get, the wickets on that pitch. Pandya was not shy of taking the new ball, and he's gotten some key wickets at that time. Let's not forget his game against Pakistan. He always performs against them. But even with the bat, he turned up when he needed to be, and so I have Pandya as my all round.
Okay, okay. So that's number 7, right? All right. So who do you got for number 8?
Wait, yeah. So number 8, I have Mohammad Shami. I coming in with Mohammad Shami, and I think in terms of ICC tournaments, he is great with the ball. So I'm going with Mohammad Shami. Some may say my batting's not deep, but
I was a long tail lagging, eh?
I'm going Mohammad Shami as my first pacer.
Okay, okay. So for me, number 8. So if you notice my top 7, I don't have a captain in there. So I
No, you
was
don't.
really struggling. So I went with the guy that got his team to the finals, Mitchell Santner at number 8. So he's my number 8. He bowled well. He bowled well throughout
Yeah,
the tournament,
yeah,
and he captained really well as well. I mean, he took his team to the finals. Some good chip ins with the bat. So he's my number 8, Mitchell Santner.
yeah. And I won't lie. I definitely oscillate of having him in my 11 as well. And to your point, bringing that team to the finals is so key in a tournament like this. I did shy away from him, but no, I have no quarrel with Mitch Sadner. I think he had a great tournament.
Okay, awesome, awesome. So what about number 8? Sorry, not 8. Who do you got at number 9?
Number 9, I got another pacer there. I think maybe this person is maybe next on your list or maybe after Matt Henry. You got to
Yeah,
get
yeah,
that New
I got
Zealand
him on.
bowler in there. So yeah, he's my next player. Was your next player as well?
Yeah, yeah. So I had him listed at
Yeah.
11, but you can count him at 9, doesn't matter. My 9, 10, 11 are out and out bowlers. Like there's no chance they're
Oh, you know
batting
what?
any higher.
Okay. I messed up. I'll be honest with you. My 11, I added him at the end. And I didn't put him in the right position. Shoots,
But you can't
shoots.
do that. You can't do that.
I know, dude. And when I say it, you're gonna be like, "Oh, you ruined it."
Who do you got
I'll
at
just say it right
11?
now. I'll just
Yeah.
say it now. I had Uxer in my 11.
Akshay is your number 8. Akshay is your number
Yeah.
8.
Uxer my
And
number
then
8. Uxer's my number 8.
yeah. And then
Or
you
if you're
had then
5, if you want me to before
oh
me,
you're 5.
Rahul.
Yeah, jeez.
And then everyone else gets pushed up one, right? But no, I had Akshay there as you could say, all rounder, which I think you have to call him. I think he has been a little underappreciated this tournament, but I think he brought in the key runs when required, and he offers that the left arm, and he's got wickets as well for Team India when needed.
Okay, so just name your last 3 then. So let's say you had Akshay at 8. So
Yeah,
you have Shami at 9, Henry at 10. Who's number 11?
Varun,
Varun?
duh,
Yeah,
come
okay.
on, yeah.
Okay, so we
Which I
got
think
the
you had as
same.
well.
Yeah, we have the same 9, 10, 11. We got
Okay, there you
Varun,
go, there you
Mohammad
go.
Shami, and Matt Henry.
No, I was oscillating on having Uxer, not having Uxer, and I did add him at the end, but it was my apologies for not adding him in the right position because
So I
you know
got Akshay as my 12th man, funny enough.
Oh, true, true, true. I even not actually did not think about my 12th man, but if I were to add one really quickly, Mitch Santner probably.
Okay, okay. Okay, wow. So it pretty much your lineup's pretty much the Indian team minus what, two players? Is that true?
Minus Rachin
Three
Ravinda,
players.
Glenn
Three
Phillips,
players.
and Matt Henry. Yeah, three players.
So you only have New Zealand and India in your team.
Unfortunately,
Okay, okay. So yeah, then I have the
you had more
lone South
diversity.
African. I had just said one, yeah, one less New Zealand player or Indian player, however you want to look at it. So I had one, two, three, four New Zealand players,
Yeah.
one South African, and the remaining six plus the sub seven Indians in there.
So you're Indian, and you had Shami as well, right? You had Shami and
Yeah, I had
Varun.
Shami as well. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
So
So I guess from a bowling perspective, I added Uxer, but you added Mitch Sandner.
yeah, I added Miss Santner. Yeah.
Got it, got it,
Okay.
got it.
So do you have any notable shout outs that you would add, let's say as part of a 15, just off the top of your head?
Oh, I think you
Just
mentioned
name one.
Manderdusen, incredible,
Yeah,
incredible.
yeah,
And I actually forgot about Rickleton, and I think some of his innings on in Pakistan was great. So no, I think definitely there. I think the Australian team was a little disappointing. And I think
yeah.
also
Maybe
the
Josh English. Josh English had a great game against
yeah,
England.
I think yeah, he had a
Yeah,
great innings. Don't get me wrong. And then you can maybe argue Ben Duckett because he had a really good inning as well. But I think even
yeah,
English
yeah,
players
yeah.
were very disappointing throughout the tournament. Omar Zai though, don't get me wrong. I think he could definitely be a top 15 player in the tournament. But that's it from my end. What about yourself? Any notable names or any notable mentions?
Yeah, all those names that you mentioned, Aswad Omarzai, Josh English, Joe Root played pretty well too. He had a century in there. I know it wasn't a losing cause. He had a 50. He looked pretty good whenever he was in the middle. And then I'm just looking through some of the players here. Mohammad Nabi had some impact in helping Afghanistan achieve that win against England. Matt Short for Australia, opening the batting. But again, like we said, a lot of these players only played 3 games, some of them 2 games because you had washouts as well, right? So it
Yes.
was hard to like come up with diversity in our team of the tournament. Um, but I'm pretty happy with who we picked. I think these players definitely did well throughout the tournament, and it shows because they're the ones whose teams reached the finals. So yeah, there you have it. There's our team of the tournament. Let us know what you think in the comments below. And that should wrap it up for the day's play for us today. So that's it. Champions Trophy, another tournament done and dusted. We are going to come at you with the next series, which looks like is going to be the Indian Premier League, the IPL. So we haven't quite decided on the format of how we're going to do it. We're thinking maybe we're going to do a once a week thing, but you'll see it when it comes out. But until then, that's it from us. That's it for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe. That stops.